Hello, and welcome to Get In It for Truth News. First, from the Salt Lake City Tribune. Salt Lake firefighters Saturday night worked to contain an unknown substance that spilled into the Jordan River. Tests determined the substance was not oil, and officials are working to determine its cause. Governor Rick Perry unexpectedly canceled plans to visit areas hit by a massive Central Texas wildfire. A Perry spokeswoman said the governor's scheduled visit on Saturday of damaged areas in Bastrop County near Austin, as well as his participation in a news conference with local and state officials, did not take place because of logistical issue. A. Will County crash kills resident. Uncovers pot growing operation. The crash of a neighbor's car into a Lockport area home this afternoon killed one of the residents of the house and uncovered a marijuana growing operation. There are hundreds of thousands of people affected by the flooding in New York and Pennsylvania. The WBRE Eyewitness News Twitter feed is one of the area's breaking news leaders in the Northeast. Be sure to check to see if there is anything you could possibly do to help these folks affected by this mass-scale weather manipulation. Now, for a thought-provoking article from Activist Post about Hollywood and cinema in the New World Order. There is a long list of films whose subject matter dabbles in various degree on the topics of liberty, tyranny, and the, at this rate, coming world government. Activist Post names a few. Notable among them, Zeitgeist, 1984 and Blade Runner. And this article talks about the Lucius Trust and delves into the question of who it is the elite designate as their supreme being. From the site, before its news, and mirrored on Activist Post, an article titled, 9/11, The Power of Symbolic Architecture in Mind Control. The spiritual supporting pillars of the world's societal structure were essentially demolished on September 11th. Symbolically, allegorically, ritualistically, and literally. It was quite a sinister stroke of genius, and so exemplifies how these dark controllers operate. This is why the wake up to 9/11 truth is so shocking to people's systems, and they just can't handle it. It's overwhelming, which it was designed to be. Here at Get In It for Truth, we'd like to say that, with power outages, floods, and a general instability all around us, engineered or not, it's important to be prepared for anything that may happen, and we encourage you to do just that. Fear is the mind killer, says a famous quote. And it's true, so, quelling some of that fear is the best remedy. Living with love and using energy that is different than the energy that got us all here in the first place, that is a solution. Until then, here is a survival gear checklist with 15 items to get you started. A power outage caused nearly 2 million gallons of raw sewage to spill in San Diego. 1.9 million gallons of raw sewage spilled into Los Penasquitos Lagoon. And a second spill of 120,000 gallons into Sweetwater River, which flows into the southern part of San Diego Bay. Terrahawk's mobile utility surveillance tower, acronym M.U.S.T, is a mobile guard tower in a shady-looking van. National security isn't always about the flashy solutions. Not everything can be railguns and one-wing drones. Sometimes you just need a sort of city-looking van that turns into a guard tower. Okay, friends, this is quite enough of these types of things, don't you think? Terrahawk specifically recommends it for emergency response, public event crowd control, and general surveillance. 1984, anyone? In a rare turn of events, Hurricane Claudia's bizarre turn sends it careening towards the United Kingdom. Hurricane Claudia was potentially heading to the eastern United States hot on the heels of Irene. But Claudia turned before it reached the U.S. and instead is racing across the mid-Atlantic towards Ireland, Scotland, and parts of England. Due to England's northern latitude, it is very rare for tropical storms to make it as far. It's a bit like tropical storms hitting Southland. The UK Met Office is unsure about Claudia's effect and are advising all residents across the UK, but especially Ireland and northwest Scotland, to be vigilant of warnings. From Grist. The empty South China Mall in the ghost city of Ordos. A riveting report from Dateline Australia reveals a disturbing pattern of development for development's sake, the construction of gigantic infrastructure projects with no regard for human needs. Take the new South China Mall. The place has been 99% vacant since it opened in 2005. 6 years after its creation, what is touted as the largest mall in the world sits almost empty. And it's not just that mall that sits empty. There are rows of massive empty skyscraper apartment buildings in central business districts in new cities around the country. This is at least part of the reality behind the megacities the Chinese are making. Pakistan flooding disaster reaches epic proportions. Arguably the biggest global story that is getting the least attention here in the West are the monsoon-induced floods in Pakistan, India and Bangladesh. Pakistan is by far the hardest hit by the seemingly endless rains. President Zardari called Ban Ki-moon to ask the UN to issue an emergency humanitarian appeal for the flood-affected regions. A mysterious earthquake swarmed near Parma, Italy with 45 tremors over 48 hours. The region is not typically known for high seismic activity. Startled Italians jammed telephone lines after the initial quake that was unusually strong for northern Italy and was felt from the financial capital Milan to Florence to Trieste. Eddie Kodal sends word of the launch of MakerBot TV, a new online video series. It's a new weekly series about all things MakerBot and 3D printing, says Eddie. Entertaining and informative. And robots. Explosion at French nuclear plant of Marcoule. There were no radioactive leaks after the blast, caused by a fire near a furnace in a radioactive waste storage site, a French nuclear official said. A security perimeter has been set up because of the risk of leakage. The plant produces MO-X fuel, which recycles plutonium from nuclear weapons, but does not include reactors. It is a major site involved with the decommissioning of nuclear facilities. The Centraco Treatment Center belongs to a subsidiary of national electricity provider EDF. Police to investigate flooding deaths of nearly 100 animals at Petco. Police will investigate the deaths of nearly 100 animals that were found in a Petco store after flooding in upstate New York, Johnson City Mayor Dennis Hannon said Monday. According to Hannon, a woman who identified herself as the manager of the store approached a firefighter who was near the Petco around 10:30 Thursday morning to request a boat. At that point, the store was underwater, Hannon said, and there was not much the fire department could do. Once employees were able to re-enter the store, they were able to rescue a majority of the animals. Hannon is upset that the store did not take more caution after he issued a state of emergency for Johnson City. A 4.4 magnitude earthquake Sunday morning shook the ground across Scurry County and parts of West Texas. The USGS reports the quake was centered 11 miles northeast of Snyder and had a depth of 6.4 miles. There are reports of residents feeling the shakes from Lubbock, San Angelo and Brownwood. Aftershocks reported. The federal government says Dallas must repay $15 million it received years ago for levee improvements. A briefing delivered to the Dallas City Council Trinity River Corridor Committee on Monday laid out a 5-year repayment plan that the Corps negotiated with city officials to lessen the impact on the city.